Ladies and gentlemen, in order to achieve an R rating today, a motion picture must contain full frontal nudity, graphic violence, or an explicit reference to the sex act. Since this film has none of those, and since research has proven that R-rated films are by far the most popular with the movie-going public, the producers of this motion picture have asked me to take this opportunity to say, fuck you.
Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh. Maniacal.
You want to hear some music? You'd like that, wouldn't you? Well, today you're going to get all the music you want.
The request lines are now open. KGFJ Soul Radio.
Do it now, man.
Request lines are up.
It's open, man.
Got any Blue Oyster Cult?
No, I don't have any Blue Oyster Cult. I ate 34 pairs last time around. Where were you? I was that close to working at 7-Eleven, you know.
Pass the word along. Tell the men it's time to shoot the moon.
Shoot the moon!
Out there on the microphone. On the microphone.
Shoot the moon. Shoot the moon. The attitude dictates that you don't care whether she comes, stays, lays, or prays. I mean, whatever happens, your toes are still tapping.
Hey, Strawberry! Oh, Strawberry. Hey, what's happening, man? How you doing? This is my friend.
Hey, how you doing, man?
What you looking at, man?
Oh, nothing. I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking at his neck, man.
Can you honestly tell me that you forgot the magnetism of Robin Zander or the charisma of Rick Nielsen?
That's kid stuff.
Kid stuff. Well, how about the tunes? I want you to want me. The Dream Police. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Build your muscles picking strawberries. You know, bend and stoop. Maybe I could get you a job with United Fruit. I got a buddy with United Fruit. Start with strawberries, you might work your way up to these goddamn bananas. When, boy, are you gonna get your act together?
We're creating a society of cell phone crazed, marijuana smoking zombies.
Coming to you not quite live from Lukewarm Tallboy Studios deep in the land of Gar, this is Bend and Scoop, the podcast featuring music, mirth, and minutia, focused on exposing artists you probably haven't heard, but should. I'm Bob, and I'll be your tour guide on this amazingly asymmetric auditory adventure as we journey to the center of your cochlea. Welcome to episode 22, Deuce! In honor of the greatest running back of all time, we'll do this show Him Its Way. This is an extra scary Halloween edition of Bend and Scoop. I am your guest host, Count Ballots. I only emerged from my crypt about a week before Election Day to help make sure everyone's votes are properly tabulated. I don't want to see even one hanging Chad unless he'd had enough and decided to Brooksy himself. Joining us at the end of the show for our spookin' after party will be our very special guest, Jordon, from the Indie Bandwidth podcast, sharing his own personal musical journey with us with a round of Is That Your Vinyl Answer? We spread the gospel of vinyl here at Bend and Scoop. That word gospel gives me the heebie-jeebies, as I don't do so well with crosses, you know. Anywho, be sure to tell us all about your favorite neighborhood record store by posting to @BendScoop on Twitter or Instagram using the /tag Spin Mom and Pop. Our record store of the week is the very terrifyingly named Piranha Records in Round Rock, Texas, just north of Austin. You can follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Piranha Records. Or you can check out their website at piranharecords.net. You'd think a store named after a fish might prefer .com over .net, but I guess they could just chew through it anyway. You know, I know a guy who was actually an extra in the original 1978 Piranha movie. Or at least that's what he tells people to make himself feel like a big shot. Let's open the coffin with our first song of this very special Halloween episode. One handpicked by yours truly, by a band from Seattle called Wimps that warms the undead heart of this bloodsucker. Here's Vampire on Bend and Scoop.
WLS.
Chrissy
nothing creepy about that one at all. Chrissy Kissed the Corpse by Of Montreal from their evil 2004 album Satanic Panic in the Attic. I have a colleague named Colin Robinson who's an energy vampire I've learned a thing or two from over the centuries, such as how to drain the life force of others by making them sit through an extended segment of seemingly endless self-promotion. So, without further ado, let me remind you about one of the other fine podcasts brewed with care by Lukewarm Tallboy Studios called Assume the Juxtaposition, where you're the host and I'm the guest. If you want to host an episode, drop me a line at lukewarmtallboy@gmail.com. The 8th episode is hosted by David Pittsburgh Dave Lowe and is a discussion all about prog rock. Scary stuff. So check it out on Spotify or Apple and follow us at Assume TJ Pod. Up next is a really terrifying track by Southern Culture on the Skids from 1998's Zombified. Here's She's My Witch on Bend and Scoop.
Got a hair as black as night. Got a skirt that's so tight. I'm telling you, boy, I got it lit. She's my witch. Love her though she's good and bad. Mess around and you've been had. She's got the key to the master switch. She's my witch. Likes to rock to a crazy song. Every night she's waiting on. She's a chick with a wicked twist. She's my witch. Just for a thrill, till you wind up stuck in a ditch. She's my witch.
I'll get it. I'm farthest from the phone.
That makes sense.
Hello?
Hello. I won't beat around the bush. I killed everybody, and I'm glad.
I appreciate your honesty. What makes your voice sound so funny?
I'm disguising it, Schmuck.
How?
By talking through a rubber chicken.
I thought it sounded like you were speaking through a rubber chicken.
Listen, I'm going to kill next at the football game. Click.
Did you hang up?
No, I just said click.
I'm a ghost, and I wanted you to know that it's taken all my strength to make this toast. I'm a ghost, and I want you to come close, 'cause I don't want you to miss me and misquote. slits our throats. You can't make a sound from 6 feet underground. Now you say you disagree, keep my statistic around. But if it looks like a dog and it smells like a dog, well then it probably is. So let's just give it a walk. Oh, oh, oh. I'm a ghost, so it don't matter what I know. And you won't mind if our thoughts become your foe. But you've been caught in flagrante delicto, and the ghosts are lining up outside your door. You can't make a sound from 6 feet underground. Now you say you disagree, but come on, look what we found. If I can talk till I'm dead and still not get in your head, well then it's probably true. So let's put this idea to bed. Oh, oh, oh. Why did you not talk to me? You said you would talk to me. You could always talk to me back then. Yeah. No more finding me here. If then you do come around, see they have lowered me down, put me back deep underground. I'm on my side in the earth where there's no rebirth. Why did you not come to me? You said you would come to me. You could always come to me back then. Yeah. Why did you not talk to me? You said you would talk to me. You could never talk to me again. Yeah, talk to me again. Yeah,
That was I'm a Ghost by Ted Leo and the Pharmacists, issuing a real prescription for horror. Don't forget to check out our Bend and Scoop Spotify playlist, where you can hear that one and 227 of the 242 songs we've played on all 22 of our episodes so far. I'll hide those missing 15 in my crypt for safekeeping. Before things get too far off course, let's get back to the music with this bone-chilling selection from my good friends Screaming Dead. This one is a tribute to our leader, Angel of Death, on Bend and Scoop.
I am the angel of your death. Ice fingers cold around your neck. Run, scream, crawl, die in the frost. Unlike you once knew life's lost. I move with every passion to take your vital passion. Your secret shall be mine.
almost time, kids. The clock is ticking. Be in front of your TV sets for the Horathon. And remember, the big giveaway at 9. Don't miss it. And don't forget to wear your masks. The clock is ticking. It's almost time.
Tell me, how'd you know just where to find me? Well, I've been wondering why you follow me blindly, but you won't catch me. I know you won't. You can't catch me, so don't you try. I won't answer my phone, 'cause it rings all day, but I won't leave my home. But you won't catch me. I know you won't. You can't catch me, so don't you try. 'Cause I've been living in my own nightmare. When I look around, I know you're there. I've been living in my own nightmare. And baby, I can't sleep.
That was the Prime Movers with Living in My Own Nightmare, something we've all been doing since March. Do you have any idea how hard it is to find an N95 mask that doesn't get snagged on your fangs? It's pretty hard. If you enjoy listening to what we do here on Bend and Scoop, please subscribe, rate, and review us at Apple Podcasts. Don't drive a stake through our heart with your indifference. You know, my fellow monsters and I used to have a band of our own back in the day until this fright-wigged version of Yoko Ono came along and broke us up. Wait, I apologize. It's unfair to blame her for our own long simmering personality conflicts. It's just a little hard to be woke when you spend all day inside a closed coffin. As an olive branch, I'll dedicate this one to her. Here's Lady Frankenstein by Matthew Sweet on Bend and Scoop.
Lady Frankenstein, I feel so alive. Now you see me through her eyes, my Lady Frankenstein. We drank all the wine, don't despair, 'cause with her heart, you are beautiful despite her face. So don't despair, I can love you, I can love you, I can love you with this heart. I will hold despair, 'cause with her heart you are beautiful despite her face. And don't despair, I can love you, I can love you, I can love you with his heart. I will hold you, I will hold you, I will hold you in his arms.
All these stairs. I hope I don't die first.
Suki was a kid, she liked to hang out in the graveyard. She did brass rubbing, she learned she never had to press hard. When she was finished hanging out, she was all alone. She decided that she better check it at home. There was an offer around between her mom and dad. They said she hadn't done this, she hadn't done that. If she wanted to remain inside the family home, she'd have to toe the line, she'd have to give it a go. It didn't suit Suki, she took her things and left. Suki was a kid, she liked to hang out in the art school. She didn't enroll, but she wiped the floor with all the assholes. She took a bijou clap at the fraternity cat, and she hid inside the attic of the sculpture building. She had a slut slave, and his name was Dave. She said, be my photo bitch, and I'll make you rich. He didn't believe her, but the boy refused her. He got her the meals, he got her the bed. He watched behind the screen, and she started to undress. He never got far, just looked at them playing guitar. Chandeliers. Now Suki saw the beauty, but she wasn't wet behind the ears. She had an A1 body and a face to match. She didn't have money, she didn't have cash. With the winter coming on and the attic cold, she had a present nose and the reflecting wall. The 16 building, she went with that. She had to pose for life with all the stars of art. She didn't feel funny, she didn't feel bad at peeling away everything she had. She had the grace of a Neil, sleek and stark, as the shadows played tricks on the girl in the dark. Dark. Suki was a kid and she liked to hang out in the graveyard. Suki was a kid and she liked to hang out in the graveyard. Suki was a kid and she liked to hang out in the graveyard. Suki was a kid and she liked to hang out in the graveyard.
Belle and Sebastian there, dancing across burial plots with Suki in the graveyard. Don't forget to stick around for the end of the show, when we'll be joined in our groovin' afterlife party by our special guest Jordon from the Indie Bandwidth podcast. Do you believe in UFOs? If not, you should, because here are Boston spaceships with this terrifying track called Psycho is a Bad Boy on Bend and Scoop.
Psycho
returns. Alice Cooper. Tonight, Friday the 13th at Civic Auditorium. He survived the guillotine and the hanging. Then he defied the electric chair. Alice Cooper is back.
The telephone is ringing.
A sinister sideshow of pleasure and pain. The legendary Alice Cooper Show. Now he's back with a whole new bag of tricks. With a 19-foot blow constrictor. With very special guest, Tesla. Yeah. Alice returns. The infamous Alice Cooper. The man behind the mask. Good tickets still on sale at the auditorium. All Brandeis, Tix, all pickles are charged at 342-7107. Tonight, Friday the 13th, he's back at Civic Auditorium from Jam and Phelan. Don't miss Alice Cooper.
That was a high-pitched one.
That was the phone.
Hello?
Hello again. I will kill next at the prom.
Oh, yeah? Click.
Did you hang up?
No, it just said click. I've got him.
You like a weed, give me a little kiss. Oh, my mouth is sweet. All them boys got nothing on me. Don't cry, don't cry. When they come to murder me, oh, I'm already gone. Bye-bye, honey, I was born in a double orgasm battle for the cattle. Yeah, give me war spasms and cool me in the barrel. Can you feel my heat? All you boys got nothing on me. Don't cry, don't cry. Oh, when they come to murder me, oh, I'm already gone. Bye-bye. Uncle said come visit me. Oh, won't you come around? Then I came, but he forgot to hide away his hound. And so I had to kill him. I had to turn him inside out. And I never wanna hurt another hound. Baby, I'm sorry. When I'm dying on my feet, you gave me a bad heartache. When the game and dog me, baby, I'm sorry. Ah, fucking prophecies. All you boys got something on me. Don't cry, don't cry. When they come to murder me, oh, I'm already gone. Bye-bye. When they come to murder me, oh, I'm already gone. Bye-bye. When they come to murder me, oh, I'm already gone. Bye-bye. When they come to murder me, oh, I'm already gone.
Only a dark soul like Black Francis could write a song as sinister as that one, When They Come to Murder Me. Speaking of murder, if you buy into all of those Blumhouse movies, most college campuses are piled up this time of year with lifeless student bodies.
Hello. Well, it's me, the heavy breather from every horror film you've ever seen. You know me. First I terrorize my victim by the telephone. Then I choose my murder weapon. A gun? Nah, too easy. A hatchet? Nah, I always use a hatchet. For this movie, I want something very frightening and deadly. Then I climb the stairs to surprise my victims. Why do they always live upstairs? This movie's a comedy, so killing's not so easy. Sugarless. The movie's called Student Bodies, so I picked a typical American high school.
This is Mr. Peters, your principal.
Mr. Peters! You're naked!
Yes, Toby. All these years I've been secretly naked underneath my clothes.
Meet the rest of the faculty. The shop teacher, the guidance counselor, the janitor with the IQ of a handball.
What's he doing?
Sex education teacher.
This is totally unnecessary, ugly, and gets in the way.
Your mother?
She also told me that sex was bad and dirty, but only with my father. With everyone else, she said it was great.
I'm into murder myself, and student bodies are gonna be everywhere.
Dead bodies downfield. 15-yard penalty.
See Student Bodies, a killer comedy.
Up early, showered and ate breakfast, take the dog out. Yes, mom, just did. Hearts 2 and 1, choose some gunfound freshman. Half day, I got the bus ride, head spins live. They give the teacher ether at 11:30 our time. We could see her. Win it for the gipper or the meat beneath her. No bothering the biddies with the freaky feature. Or laughing at the Legion suit bootleg down by Mr. Sayers wearing his toupee wrong. Newsday's dawn in the age of Pong. Dot matrix in the faceless songs. Schoolyard rock is the place to be. Hit the AV room, sign the paper, please. Do 206, the adjacent wing, near the music room where we would chase Eugene and sang of Jesus, loving yourself. Where I first felt titty and administered smoke to my friends like Mike and Stutter and Joe. Where I first sipped vodka from a cup full of Coke. Broke mostly, but today, chill. No beef with the bird chest nerds for milk. Money, cause today our attention will be mainly on the challenges engine tilt. Checklist filled with the reddest stink marks. Everyone's accounted for, prepped and in our seats real quiet with some restless skin parts. Reaganomics promising the best was in charge. First time that I felt the country was bigger than myself and I owed it something. Even thought one day I might guard the fucking place in case we were charged by Russians. Major time, your cover's closed. Simon says that you can touch your toes and smile for the camera under oath of a space program with 100 holes. Exploding hopes, wait did that just really happened and were they attacked? Cut to the newsroom, razorbacks. No survivors, fade to black. Age intact, I even laughed a bit, cause everything that day felt accurate. And I still learn more than math from it. Like life is a box full of asterisks. You just never know when your measurements would fit nicely over an estimate of your coffin clothes because you're next of kin. It's
people listen to people. So listen, people.
Welcome to the Groovin' After Party. Come on in and pour yourself a cold one.
Very special guest joining us for the Groovin' After Party here on Bend and Scoop is Jordon from Indie Bandwidth. Jordon, glad to have you with us.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. It's great to be on.
Yeah, you bet. Tell us a little bit about Indie Bandwidth. I really like the podcast and the setup that you've got here.
I appreciate that. So yeah, it's a labor of love that I do with my my son. He was 14 when we started. Now he's almost 16. He's 16 in about a month. So it's been quite a journey, and we have nary a few episodes under our belt, but we do get them out once in a while. And it started because, I've been subjecting him to my music since he was a little tyke, and most of it took. He got really, really into it. And so no one else in my house likes my music. And so when he became of the age that he started getting really obsessed with music, and I realized he was getting really obsessed with the bands I loved: Pavement, No Means No, Secret Chase 3, all these kind of really deep cut indie bands. We would just have hours long, well, not hours, but really long conversations about music. And he was really interesting to talk to about it. So we realized one day, kind of looking at each other, like we should make a podcast where we just talk about our favorite albums. Why the hell not? And so we started. We just decided to put it together, and kind of we're going to slowly make our way through all of our favorite albums. Until we run out of things to talk about.
Well, I've loved what I've heard so far. I like I was telling you earlier, I listened to the episode you guys did on Beck on the Odelay, which is great, and I definitely want to go back and listen to the Pavement one as well. I'm a big Mountainous guy myself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So the thing I really like is the father-son angle, because that's kind of where my love of music developed. Was my dad. Basically, he had this handful of 8 tracks that we'd listened to on road trips in the car when I was a kid. This is like, early mid 70s. So
yeah,
it'd be, Elton John and Rolling Stones and Willie Nelson were kind of the main 3 in rotation. But I really kind of developed a love of music from that. And my youngest son, who is going to be 18 on Friday, he's got earbuds in about 90% of the time, but every now and then something that I'll be playing in the car will bleed over, and he'll either Shazam it or ask, hey Dad, what is that? Really kind of like this one. So he lets me know when he hears one he likes. And I was telling a buddy, boy, if we'd had Shazam and Spotify when we were kids, it would have been so much easier.
Oh yeah. Whole different ball game, different ball game for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I relate to that. I mean, I think we're probably the same generation. I grew up in the 70s too, and hearing all those 8 tracks, I had lots of Steely Dan and Fleetwood Mac in the deep recesses of my memory for sure. And yeah. Although I think for me, where music really took was like late high school and college. Like that's when I found the bands that set fire to my brain. Right before that, it was always a little bit background. I didn't have a band I was that into, a couple here and there. But that's when I found the bands that really, really took hold. And frankly, I sort of got calcified at that time period, right? Like those bands kind of stuck and have lived with me since, for sure.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I was similar, except I think it was more just, I wasn't listening to very much adventurous stuff until about halfway through college. Like it was pretty much what now would qualify for either, classic rock or that sort of thing, until I found things like The Replacements and Jane's Addiction about halfway through college, and like, oh, this is quite a bit different than what I hear on the radio.
Right.
Been kind of on that path ever since. So let's learn a little bit more about your personal musical journey and play a round of what I like to call, is that your vinyl answer? Jordon, what was the first record you remember ever buying?
So the first album I bought was actually a They Might Be Giants album back in the late 80s. My buddy and I heard their first album on 120 Minutes and totally fell in love with it. And so we rushed out and bought their eponymous album, They Might Be Giants, right? And we passed that tape. It was a tape back then that we passed back and forth, and we really got a taste for it. He shortly thereafter scammed Columbia Records. What was it? You'd get like they'd give him a penny and they'd send you tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he ran the scam where he got like 50 different names at the same address and got hundreds of tapes. Ended up getting away with it, but we got a huge music library collection from his scam.
I don't know how they didn't lose millions of dollars.
I have no idea. I assume they did because they can't exist anymore. Not in this day and age. But yeah,
I would love to see the economics behind that whole operation.
Yeah. In terms of vinyl, like I didn't get a record player until college. Before that, it was all CDs and tapes. But when I did get a vinyl, the first thing I went out and got, and I wish I still have it, was No Means No's Why Do They Call Me Mr. Happy, which still is one of my favorite albums of all time. And I coveted that record. I have no idea where it ended up. It's really hard to find now, super rare. So that's one of my deep regrets, is having lost that sucker.
Do you remember where you bought that one?
I did. It was on Rasputin Records out on Haight Street. I used to cruise up and down Haight, Amoeba, and a couple of the other record stores. And I remember going in Rasputin's. And, back then before the internet, you didn't really know when a new album was going to come out. You didn't have all this pre-buzz. So I just remember going in there about every week, thumbing through No Means No. I wonder if there's anything I haven't heard before. And then suddenly this brand new album shows up out of nowhere and totally blew me away.
So you said you don't have that album anymore, but
no.
Do you happen to still have that They Might Be Giant?
I do have that tape. I have it buried in my garage. I just found it the other day. Yeah, I never let go of that one.
Which band or artist albums do you own the most?
Two. I would say Pavement and No Means No. They're the kind of two poles of my musical tastes, and I'm a completionist. I pretty much own certainly everything on CD and a lot of vinyl for Pavement and as much vinyl as I could find for No Means No. And we've actually really gotten back into it because Parker's really gotten into vinyl. And so we're really starting to collect it for him. And we're collecting all the albums that we've done on the podcast and then, just really trying to build up his collection. So I get to live a little vicariously through him and help him build up his collection.
That's great. Which Pavement album is your favorite?
I think it's actually the Watery Domestic EP because I think to me that's the most pavement-y pavement statement that was ever made. We did an episode of that podcast where we deep dived into it and that really helped me fall even more deeply in love with it. But so it's either that or Wowie Zowie. I'd say it's between the two of those.
Okay. For some reason, I just kind of assume most people defaulted to Slanted and Enchanted, but that's...
Which I love. I absolutely love. It's kind of only Terror Twilight's the one that I put on the bottom of the list. Is the one that's like, well, they were on their way out. It's all right. It's not awful. My rankings would change day to day, I suppose.
I'm a bit of an oddball in that my favorite album, either Pavement or Pavement related, is the first Malkmus solo album. Which
I love too. That's great.
Honestly, that album really got me into quote unquote indie music whole hog. And I mean, I don't even remember how it was I got that album to begin with, but it was just like, I could not stop listening to that for a month. I still love him. Now, he's really hit or miss. The last few he's put out have not been as solid, but I heard you guys talk about the album that Beck produced, Mirror Traffic. I think that's probably his second best solo album. I love that. It's
pretty great. Yeah. We're actually, the next one we have queued up, the podcast is Real Emotional Trash. We're going to tackle that one, which we love because it's just it's like his jammy best, right? He's just letting all the padlocks off and just letting his guitars totally rip. I'm looking forward to diving into that. 1990, my buddy came home from college, Santa Cruz, and he just said, you have to listen to this. It's the best thing I've ever heard, and shoved that tape in my hands. And yeah, from then on, 90 on, I was a deep, deep Pavement fan.
Now, do you also follow like Spiral Stairs and Preston School of Industry and all those kind of sub-offshoots?
I do, yeah, I do. I mean, Malkmus is still my favorite. I think he had the lion's share of the talent in that band, but I really like Spiral Stairs. I feel like a lot of his sounds really reflects back to the New Zealand bands. I know they were really into the New Zealand bands, and I hear a lot of like the Clean and Tall Dwarves and the Bats and stuff like that in his music, which I really love. I love hearing those echoes because there's some great stuff out of New Zealand that just doesn't get talked about enough, for sure.
I really liked his last solo album. There was a couple songs on there. As a matter of fact, one of them I played on the podcast a few weeks ago, but it's great stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
Now, over the years, which album have you had to replace or purchase the most?
Yeah, I would say it would be No Means No's Wrong, which is one of their seminal albums, both because that's the one that I've used most to try to get people into the band. It's sort of their they're not necessarily accessible band, but when you're going to try to get someone into them, that's the record you're going to use. I did have that on vinyl as well, and that got destroyed. Had it on CD a couple times. They got lost or broken or whatever. And, before the digital age, when you lost your physical media, you had to seek it out again. Their catalog isn't even on Spotify. So for them, you kind of have to have the digital copies owned or you're out of luck. So yeah, it would definitely be wrong.
Who among your friends and family would you say has the largest vinyl collection? Is it you?
Definitely not. I have a friend, Chris Broderick, who lives up in Portland, and he has a pretty extensive record collection. It's very impressive. He's been adding to that since college. And, we're well at the end of our 40s now, so I imagine it's huge by now. But I've never had a huge vinyl collection. I'm hoping to change that now with Parker. We're really going to start growing his. Like I said, sort of live vicariously through him, and he'll have the collection I never had.
How large is yours right now? What do you have?
Not a lot, probably about 15 maybe.
But it's growing, like you said.
Less.
Yeah.
Oh, it's growing, yeah. We don't have access to a lot of record stores around here. We got one really good place in town and another place a little bit north of us that we'd like to hit once in a while, or that we haven't hit yet, but that we want to hit. But yeah, we need to get out there and start building the collection.
So that does take us to the next and final question, which is, what is your favorite record store? You mentioned you had one you liked there in town. What's that?
That's Spin Records. It's really great, really small little place. Just, it's in one of those sort of strip malls. Super low key. The guy who runs it is super nice and really helpful. And it's just a real friendly place to go into, right? It's got that feeling, when you had a teenager, you can go and just flip through the racks and stacks and you feel welcome, asking them any questions. It's just really nice. I still really like Amoeba down in Haight, but for all of its history, it's still just a big, almost sort of warehousey kind of place. This place in town is a really nice neighborhood record store with a really great selection, really great collection.
Love the places that are small enough where you can actually have a dialogue with. The one where I grew up in Central Texas, there was basically 3 people that were ever there. It was the owner, the manager, and the owner's wife. One of the 3 would be behind the register, so you'd really kind of develop a relationship because it wasn't like this massive staff.
Nice.
Yeah. Matter of fact, the owner just recently passed away, but they had closed the store years ago. The guy who was the manager of that opened his own store up in Austin now. Got to go and see him last year. Took my kids with me. It was fun.
Oh, that's great.
So why don't you give us the social media connections? How can folks follow you and keep tabs on the podcast?
Sure. So I think the best place to follow us is probably on Twitter. We're at Indie Bandwidth. And every time I'm going to have a new episode, I'll post there. And, we try to keep touch with our community and the other podcasts that we're sort of connected with. We also have an email account. So indiebandwidth@gmail.com. You can always email us if you want. We'd love to hear from you in either of those places. Like I said, we're not pumping out episodes as fast as I'd like. It's hard when you got a teenager, but we're going to keep doing them because we both love music. Go through them all till all our albums are behind us.
And it'll be awesome when he gets older to go back and listen to these.
Yes.
That'll be really cool. Now, people aren't going to be able to see this because this is an audio medium, but I've got to give you props on the Bloom County t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bill the Cat there and Opus. So
it's highly political because it's the Don't Blame Me, I Voted for Bill and Opus shirt from way back in the 80s. So, yeah. It's a classic.
Yeah. Love Bloom County. Well, Jordon, thanks so much for your time, for being with us, and looking forward to more episodes of Indie Bandwidth. Give your son my best. Tell him I think he's really good on the show, and we're hopeful to hear more soon.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. It was great to be on. Appreciate you extending the invite. Can't wait to make my way through the back catalog of your podcast.
You can follow Bend and Scoop on Twitter or Instagram at Bend Scoop, or go to our website at bendandscoop.com. Also part of the Lukewarm Tallboy Studios family are a couple of other podcasts. Assume the Juxtaposition, where you're the host and I'm the guest, can be followed on Twitter and Instagram at AssumeTJPod. And we've got a brand new podcast coming soon called Pausable Deniability, which can be found on Twitter and Instagram at PauseDeny. My co-host for that podcast will be none other than Millerman himself, David Miller. Just the two of us talking about whatever we want. So be sure and stay tuned for that. New episodes will be posted on the 1st of every month. So our debut episode will be coming up on November the 1st. And one other podcast that I'm involved with is How Many, where several of my friends, including Jesse, Jr., Gary, and Scott, and occasionally a guest co-host, discuss and debate all things pop culture, sports, TV, movies, music, you name it. You can follow on Twitter at How Many Podcast, or you can go to the website howmanypodcast.com.
Bye-bye, lard ass.
Bend and Scoop is a production of Lukewarm Tallboy Studios.